Welcome everyone. Myself Vaidya Sunil Rapolu, Assistant Professor Department of Kriyasharir Government Academy Ayurveda College, Ahmedabad. Today I am going to deliver my video class on Physiology of Autonomic Nervous System. So let we start our video class without wasting any time. So first of all, we recap about the nervous system. So nervous system, what about the nervous system? The nervous system is nothing but it is control, regulate and activate all the functions of our body and mind. So each and every action which is linked with the nervous system, either the it is related to the microscopic and gross movement, or either it is the thinking, memory, logic, emotions related, whatever these functions are, they are majorly linked with the nervous system. And this nervous system is subdivided into the two parts. One is the central nervous system, second is the peripheral nervous system. So central nervous system comprises the two main portions, that is structure, is a brain and spinal cord. This brain and spinal cord which are present in the central portion of the body, so that is why it's called as a central nervous system. The periphery nervous system, which are the nerve which formed by the fiber which is coming out from the spinal cord, or which are enter into the spinal cord, and which is scattered peripheral of the body, so that is why they are termed as a peripheral nervous system. So this peripheral nervous system has two subdivisions. One is the somatic nervous system and next is the autonomic nervous system. So somatic nervous system is the system which is concerned with the regulation of the voluntary function. It means that it innervates the skeletal muscle. Now we coming on to our today's video class topic, that is the autonomic nervous system. So what about the autonomic nervous system? Autonomic nervous system is a system which regulate, activate and facilitate the action. They are related to the involuntary and vegetative in nature. It autonomic nervous system is automatic. It means that it regulates the automatic functions of our body. It means that whatever the action which are not under our control, that all actions are together regulated by the one particular system, nervous system, that is autonomic nervous system. For instance, to increase the heart rate or to slow down the digestive process. These are the actions which are not under our control. So what are the action related to this phenomenon? They are that all action, whichever the system is regulated or governed, that system is particularly termed as a autonomic nervous system. This autonomic nervous system basically innervate the structure. They are the visceral organ structure, which they are the smooth muscle, heart, blood vessel, and endocrine glands. So they are innervated by the autonomic nervous system. This autonomic term is basically given by the Cambridge-based professor, that is John Newport Langley, in 1898. And vegetative nervous system, this term is coined by the Reel in 1807. And involuntary nervous system, this term is given by the Wharton Gaskell scientist. So it is about the basic information about the autonomic nervous system. And this autonomic nervous system subdivided into the two main system parts, that is division, that is sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. This sympathetic nervous system, so why it is termed as a sympathetic nervous system? So on the basis of the Gallen observation, So during the injury, whenever the injuries occur, there is a tachycardia is take place. So this tachycardia is take place due to the in according to the sympathy of the blood loss or the injury. So due to that phenomenon, so this system is considered, or what are the fibers which are related to mediate this type of the actions, they are called as a sympathetic nervous system. And parasympathetic nervous system, this related to the autonomic nervous system, which balance the sympathetic function. So that is why they are called as a parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system are also called as a thoracolumbar outflow nervous system, because the preganglionic fibers of this system are emerged from the nuclei which are present in thoracic and lumbar segment. And the parasympathetic nervous system, they are considered a craniosacral outflow, because the preganglionic fibers are emerged from the nuclei which are present in the cranium, that is a brainstem, and in the spinal segment. So that is why they are called as a craniosacral outflow. Coming on to the preganglionic fibers length, the preganglionic fibers are smaller in the sympathetic nervous system, and the preganglionic fibers in the parasympathetic nervous system are larger in relation to the sympathetic nervous system. And the postganglionic fibers in the sympathetic nervous system are larger, while in the parasympathetic nervous system they are smaller, because the postganglionic nuclei are present within or very close to the structure which are innervated by the parasympathetic nervous system. So coming on the neurotransmitter, which is released by the preganglionic fiber and postganglionic fiber in context of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, that for the both the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, the preganglionic fiber release the acetylcholine neurotransmitter, but the postganglionic fiber for the sympathetic nervous system, they release the adrenaline. So they are the noradrenaline. So that is adrenergic neurotransmitters. So but the some in some place, instead of the adrenaline, the acetylcholine is released. That specific citations are the sweat gland, blood vessel which are present in the heart, and the blood vessel which are present in the liver and in the skeletal muscle, where the neuro postganglionic fiber release the neurotransmitter, that is the acetylcholine. But in the sweat gland which are present in the sole and palm, where the postganglionic fiber of the sympathetic nervous system release the noradrenaline neurotransmitter. Coming on to the post parasympathetic nervous system, both the preganglionic postganglionic fiber release the acetylcholine. Now we discuss about the what is the particular actions which are mediated by the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic. So normally, what are the basic function which are mediated by the sympathetic nervous system? They are termed, or they are recognized as a fight and flight related response. It means that during the emergency condition, or during the emotional condition, during the frightened condition, the sympathetic nervous system majorly come into the action. So how it is take place? So first, we just see an example. So whenever the person confront any danger situation or any frightened condition, so in this condition he has a two choice. One, either he has to fight to that or tackle that condition or situation, or either he has to run away or flee to that condition or situation. So in those both conditions, there is a need of the mediate the produce the or exhibit the different movement or actions or decisions, taking the different decisions. So for that all, there is a need to energy for the skeletal muscle do such action or mediate such action, and there is a need to pupil dilatation to visualize the situation or condition or the frightening situation in the proper and apparent way in order to take the proper decision. And there is a need to increase oxygen consumption rate to provide the proper oxygen to the cell to do the to do the proper metabolic action in order to produce the energy and consume the proper energy. And there is a need to blood circulation to that skeletal muscle for the doing the different action, performing the different action. So that is regular, that is done by the increase the heart rate, increase the cardiac output by the stimulation of the sympathetic nervous system. It increase the oxygen consumption by increase the respiratory rate by increasing the bronchodilation process. And next is the metabolic related function, that is the it increase the glycogenolysis process in the liver and the muscle. So in order to that, there is increased blood glucose level in the circulation, so that can easily available for the muscle to do such actions. And next is it mobilize the fat from the adipose tissue. So it means that by increasing the heart rate, by increasing the respiratory rate, by increasing the bronchodilation process, by increasing the oxygen consumption, by increasing the blood supply to that skeletal muscle, and by increasing the pupil dilatation, it make the person to do or to exhibit the either fight and flight related response. So it means it enable that person either he has to fight or flight. So these are the action are considered as a fight and flight related response. Next is the action which are majorly regulated by the parasympathetic nervous system. So they are termed or they are recognized as the rest and digestion related function. So normally the sympathy, what are the action which are mediated by the sympathetic nervous or expressed by the sympathetic nervous system, they are considered the excitatory action. While in the parasympathetic nervous, it show the inhibitory action. So that inhibitory response, that in the all majorly in the our body, sympathetic nervous does this stimulation of the all the system, while in the parasympathetic nervous system does the inhibitory action. But in context to the digestive system, the parasympathetic nervous system produces stimulatory action, while the sympathetic nervous system show the inhibitory action. So during whenever we ingest the food, so that time parasympathetic nervous system is stimulated, it increase by and it increase the digestive process, and by increasing motility, by increasing the digestive secretion, and it is facilitate the proper digestion process. So during the so this is the reason why the people are going into the dosing phenomenon after intaking of the food. So because during that after intaking the food, during in that condition there is increased digestive state action is take place due to the increased parasympathetic dominancy. So due to the parasympathetic dominancy in on the GIT, there is increased blood supply toward the gut is take place, and they reduce blood supply to the brain is occur. So due to the reduced amount of the brain oxygen blood and oxygen in the brain, so the person is going into the feeling, the person is feeling laziness or feels laziness, or they come they gone they feel dozing due to this phenomenon. And a rest, so rest condition means that, so normally during the person whenever he take the rest or whenever in the sleeping condition, or it the parasympathetic nervous system is stimulated, it means that it relax the all the system, it give the rest to the all the system. So that is why it is these functions are called as the rest and digestive function. Now, normally, so in this way in some situations by stimulate by sympathetic nervous system is by showing its action by dominant action on this parasympathetic nervous system, and in some condition by dominating the parasympathetic nervous system by depressing the sympathetic nervous system. They regulate all the autonomic nervous system with smoothly and proper way. So it means whenever the body need the sympathetic action from action stimulation is mainly, so that time sympathetic nervous system stimulate and show is action and regulate the autonomic nervous system. Whenever there is a need to parasympathetic stimulation, in that condition parasympathetic nervous system dominated and inhibit and suppress the sympathetic function stimulation and show is action. For instance, so whenever the person is do the exercise and running, so in that condition there is a need to increase circulation, blood circulation. So in there is increase the heart rate. So in that condition sympathetic nervous system is stimulated. And during the resting condition or during the relaxation condition, where is there when there is no need to excessive blood circulation, in that system parasympathetic nervous system is dominated. So in this way, by coordinating each other, they regulate all the autonomic nervous system with the smooth way. So by antagonisting each other, the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves eventually regulate all the autonomic nervous system function in the proper way. Now coming on to the organization of the sympathetic nervous system, how sympathetic nervous system is organized. So normally the sympathetic nervous system is again considered as a thoracolumbar outflow because the preganglionic neurons are situated in the lateral gray horn of the 12 thoracic and first two lumbar segment of the spinal cord. So this, so what are the T1 to T2 and L1 to L2 spinal segments are there in that lateral horn. So the basic nuclei for these sympathetic divisions are present in this segment. So that is where they are. So the preganglionic fibers, the fiber arising from ear are known as a preganglionic fibers. The preganglionic fiber leave the spinal cord through the anterior uh, nerve root and white rami communicants and terminate in the postganglionic neuron, which are situated in the sympathetic ganglia. And sympathetic division so supply the smooth muscle fibers of all the visceral organ such as blood vessel, heart, lungs, gland, gastrointestinal organ, and whatever the visceral organs are there, they are ultimately innervated by the sympathetic nervous system. So now we discuss about the sympathetic ganglion. So this sympathetic ganglions normally they arrange or classified into the three groups. One is the paravertebral or sympathetic chain ganglia, prevertebral or collateral ganglia, or terminal or peripheral ganglion. So the paravertebral ganglions or sympathetic chain ganglions are arranged in a segmental fashion along the anterolateral surface of the vertebral column. So these are the sympathetic chain ganglion. So the sympathetic chain ganglion, the ganglion on either side of the spinal cord are connected with each other by longitudinal fibers to form the sympathetic chain. So they extended from the occipital bone to coccyx in the form of in the manner of the chain like structure. So that is why they are considered as a sympathetic chain ganglion. So this sympathetic chain ganglion are each side are divided into the four groups. One is the cervical sympathetic ganglion, second is the thoracic sympathetic chain ganglion, next is lumbar and sacral sympathetic chain ganglion. So first we discuss of the cervical sympathetic chain ganglion. So there are the 8 cervical sympathetic chain ganglions are there. So they are arranged in the 3 groups and they are correspond to the C1 to C8 spinal segment. So these 3 groups are the superior cervical ganglion, middle cervical ganglion, and inferior cervical ganglion. First 4 cervical ganglions are there, so they form the superior cervical sympathetic ganglion. So it receives the preganglionic fiber from the T1 thoracic segment. From that, what are the postganglionic fibers are there? They innervate the blood vessels and gland, and it is also supplied to the heart through the superior cervical sympathetic nerve or cardiac plexus. And fifth and sixth cervical ganglion form the middle cervical sympathetic ganglion. So they innervate the postganglionic fiber from this ganglion innervate the thyroid and parathyroid gland, and this it is innervate the structures other than the base and blood vessels of the heart, because the base and the blood vessels of the heart is majorly innervated by the superior cervical sympathetic ganglion. Now move on to the inferior cervical sympathetic ganglion. This inferior cervical sympathetic ganglion is formed by the seventh and eighth cervical ganglion. So with this, by T1 first thoracic ganglion is by fusing with each these two ganglion they form the stellate ganglion. The the postganglionic fiber which is emerged from the inferior cervical sympathetic ganglion, so they innervate the heart. So basically they form the afferent fiber, they act as afferent fiber for the heart. So they convey the pain and stress related information from the heart towards the central nervous system. Now move on to the uh, thoracic ganglion or thoracic sympathetic chain ganglion. The thoracic sympathetic chain ganglion correspond to the T1 to T12 segment of the spinal cord. These ganglions are receive the preganglionic fibers from the T1 to T12 spinal segment of the nucleus, and the postganglionic fiber from this thoracic sympathetic chain ganglions form the splanchnic nerve. Splanchnic nerve means that they innervate the visceral organs. So the splanchnic nerve are the cardiopulmonary plexus or the greater lesser least splanchnic nerve. They innervate the thoracic and abdominal visceral organ. Now lumbar ganglion. There are the 5 lumbar ganglions are there. They correspond to the lumbar spinal segment, and this lumbar from this what are the postganglionic, they receive the preganglionic fiber from the L1 to L2 spinal segment, and the postganglionic fiber from this lumbar ganglions are innervate the structure that is the abdominal and pelvic organ. Now move on to the sacral sympathetic chain ganglion. So sacral sympathetic chain ganglion, the they receive the preganglionic fiber from L1 to L2 segment, and postganglionic fiber from these ganglions are innervate the structure blood vessel and sweat gland of the lower limb. Now come on to the coccygeal ganglion. So in the at the lower end of this sympathetic trunk, the both chains are on the other both chains are come across or anterior to the coccyx, and they fuse together and form the terminal ganglion, or they are considered as coccygeal ganglion, or they are considered as a they consider the ganglion impaired ganglion. So this from that what are the postganglion fibers are emerged, so they innervate the abdominal and pelvic organ structures. Now we move on to the prevertebral ganglion or collateral ganglion. Prevertebral ganglion or collateral ganglions, so which are present in the thorax, abdomen, and pelvic organ, in relation to the uh, aorta and its branches, and this ganglion receive the preganglionic fiber from the T5 to L2 segment of the spinal cord. So normally this there are three type of the ganglions are there. One is the celiac ganglion, superior mesentery ganglion, inferior mesentery ganglion. Celiac ganglion and superior mesentery ganglion together form the solar plexus. So celiac ganglions, which are immediately they are situated immediately caudal part of the celiac artery. So the postganglionic fiber from the celiac ganglion, they innervate the structures of the stomach, liver, spleen, pancreas, and duodenum. And superior mesenteric ganglion, from that what are the postganglion fibers are there? They innervate the small intestine. And the inferior mesenteric ganglion, from whatever the postganglion fibers are there, they innervate the large intestine. So it is about the prevertebral or collateral ganglion. Now terminal or peripheral ganglion. Terminal ganglion are situated within or close to structure innervated by them. That is the heart, bronchioles, and the urinary bladder. Next is the pancreas. So these are the main structure where the paravertebral ganglions or terminal ganglions are present. So we are present within that structure or close to that structure, and ultimately they innervate that related structure. So it is about the organization of the sympathetic nervous system. Now there is specific structure, that is the sympatho-adrenal system. Sympatho-adrenal system is the system. So normally it is organized or functioned by the two basic parts, that is they are the functional phylogenetical unit, which include the sympathetic nervous system and adrenal system. Since the sympathetic nervous system and the adrenal medulla on the basis of the development, so they are developed in the same neural crest. It means that that is why their functions and secretions are very close to each other. And the adrenal medulla is considered as a modified sympathetic ganglion. This adrenal medulla is formed 20% of the total adrenal gland. So in this adrenal medulla, the whatever the adrenal medullary cells are there, they are called chlorophyll cell. So they are considered as a nuclei of the sympathetic ganglion, and the what normally this ganglion release the catecholamine, or the neurons release the catecholamine neurotransmitter. So whenever the sympathetic nervous system is stimulated, so this catecholamine or this nuclei release the catecholamine, and this it means that so whatever the so whenever this new catecholamine, that is adrenaline and noradrenaline release, they increase the oxygen consumption rate, increase the heart rate, increase the cardiac output, increase the glycogenolysis process, increasing the fat metabolism process, increase the fat mobilization process, and increase the muscle contraction process. So these are the action majorly it is seen in the during emotional condition. So this pathway is considered as a producing the some sympathetic and autonomic function in our body whenever it is stimulated, in order to maintain the normal autonomic function in our body. Now, second, move on to the parasympathetic nervous system organization. How it is organized. The parasympathetic nervous system is considered as a craniosacral outflow, because the preganglionic fiber for this parasympathetic nervous system is emerged from the nuclei which is present in the cranium, that is the brainstem, and the nuclei which are present in the S2 to S4 segment of the spinal cord in the lateral horn of the spinal cord. So that is why it is considered as a craniosacral outflow. So in the cranium, in the brainstem, what are the nuclei which are really concerned with the parasympathetic formation? So that is the cranial nerve third, seventh, ninth, and tenth. The third cranial nerve nuclei is present in the midbrain. So the nuclei which is form the parasympathetic division of the parasympathetic nervous system division, that is Edinger vestibular nuclei. From that, what are the preganglionic fibers are emerged? So they synapse with the ciliary ganglion, and from that what are the postganglionic nucleus is emerged, so they innervate the eye. So basically it constrict the pupil, it contract the ciliary muscle. And the what is seventh cranial nerve is there, which is present in the medulla. So from that what are the postganglionic postganglionic fibers are preganglionic fibers are there, so they either synapse with the pteropalatine nuclei and submandibular ganglion. The fiber which is emerged from the pteropalatine ganglion, they innervate the lacrimal and nasal gland. They increase the lacrimal secretion and nasal secretion. And what are the postganglionic fibers which is emerged from the submandibular ganglion? They innervate the submaxillary or sublingual gland, increase the salivary secretion. From the ninth cranial nerves, in from the medulla, what are the preganglionic fibers are there? So they synapse with the otic ganglion. From the otic ganglion, what are the postganglionic fiber is there, that they innervate the parotid gland. They increase the salivary secretion. And coming on to the 10th cranial nerve, so normally 10th cranial nerve, that is the vagus, for that nuclei which is present, that is the dorsal nuclei. So from that what are the preganglionic nuclei is there, so they innervate the postganglion which are present within that structures or very close to the structure which are innervated by the vagus nerve. So it is normally they are this heart, in which it produces inhibitory reaction, reduce the heart rate, reduce the cardiac output, and in the lungs it does the broncho constriction, and particularly in the coming on to the action on the pancreas, it produce the increase the insulin secretion, and coming out the git, it increase the motility, increase the secretion, and it does the relaxation on the sphincter, and it constrict the smooth muscle of the git. And so it is about the basic action of the nuclear cranial nerve nuclei related to the parasympathetic function. Now coming on to the nuclei which are present in the lateral horn of the S2 to the S4 segment. So what are the fibers which is emerged from the S2 to S4? So they are considered the pelvic splanchnic nerve or pelvic splanchnic or nerva erugna. So these what are the fibers which is coming out from this S to S4 segment? They innervate the structures. They are descending colon, rectum, urinary bladder, urethra, internal sphincter, uh, and accessory sex organs. These all are innervated by the parasympathetic division of the pelvic nerve or nerva erugna. So it is about the basic organization of the parasympathetic nervous system. So now move on to the general function of the autonomic nervous system. So what are the actions which are mediated by the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system on particular organ? So coming on to the eye. So what are the action which is mediated by sympathetic nervous system? So ciliary muscle and on sphincter pupil. So the sympathetic nervous system on ciliary muscle is relax the ciliary muscle and pupil it does the dilatation. And while in contrary parasympathetic nervous system it constrict the pupil and it contract the ciliary muscle. So normally this phenomena can be observed during the dark room and during the light illumination room or during the focusing the far vision, far distance vision, and during the focusing the near vision. So during whenever we come on to the come across the dark room or whenever we focus the image which are present far distance, in that condition sympathetic nervous system stimulate it does the pupil dilatation. And during the whenever we focus the object which is present near to us or whenever we come on to the light illumination room, so that in that condition parasympathetic nervous system is stimulated and it does the pupil dilatation process. Now coming on to the action on the lacrimal gland. So parasympathetic nervous system increase the lacrimal secretion, sympathetic nervous system reduce the lacrimal secretion. Coming on to the salivary gland. So sympathetic nervous system they reduce the salivary secretion, constrict the vasoconstriction process, and the while the parasympathetic nervous system increase the salivary secretion. So coming on to the action on the intestine or in the GIT, parasympathetic nervous system increase the it increase the increase the motility, increase the secretion. It is relax the sphincter and increase the contraction of the smooth muscles of the GIT. While sympathetic nervous system it reduce the motility, reduce the secretion, constrict the sphincter and relax the smooth muscles of GIT. While in the heart, parasympathetic nervous system reduce the heart rate, reduce the cardiac output, while sympathetic nervous system on the heart increase the heart rate and reduce it increase the cardiac output. On the bronchial, sympathetic nervous system does the bronchodilation and the parasympathetic nervous system does the constriction of the bronchi. So coming on to the pancreas, so normally sympathetic action on the pancreas on the endocrine level, it basically reduce the insulin secretion and increase the glycogen secretion, while the parasympathetic nervous system increase the insulin secretion. Coming on the action on the gallbladder, so parasympathetic nervous system is relaxed, it contract the gallbladder, while sympathetic nervous system does the relaxation uh, on the gallbladder. And urinary bladder, so normally urinary bladder has a two specific type of the muscle. One is detrous muscle and internal sphincter. So on the detrous muscle, sympathetic nervous system does the relaxation process and internal sphincter, sympathetic nervous system does the constriction process. While in the parasympathetic nervous system, it does the contraction and on the detrous muscle and does the relaxation in the urethral sphincter. So here I want to clarify one condition that on the basis of this sphincter relaxation or sphincter constriction process, so or that is which is concerned with the maturation, involuntary maturation process, uncontrolled maturation process. So normally we are discussed earlier that whenever the person is come across the frightened condition or in a danger condition, so sympathetic nervous system is stimulated. So we all we normally we all are aware or we can observe that whenever the person in some come into the danger, some persons are their maturation process is take place, or you can see that they maturate, or the urination is involuntary urination is take place. So in that concern, the sympathetic nervous system has no concern to mediate that involuntary urination during the pregnant condition. So in that situation, limbic system play a major role. So normally, limbic system play a major role in the defecation and maturation process during frightened condition. So, so what are the Pontin maturation center is they is closely connected with the urinary blood. It knows the pressure building and make the preliminary decision from the urinary for the urge of the urination. So meanwhile, so there is a prefrontal cortex is there. It continuously send the inhibitory impulse to the spontaneous maturation center. But during the emotional condition, during the frightening condition, these inhibitory signals are inhibited or overdrawn by the limbic system. So there is a process of the maturation is take place during the frightened condition in some, but in some person. So so it means that during what are the maturation is take place during the frightened condition, in that sympathetic systems has no concern. Limbic system is play a role in that to mediating the maturation process in that danger situation or in that emotional frightened condition. So, so which is the clarification about that process. So now move on to the action on the blood vessel. So sympathetic nervous system does the constriction of the all blood vessel except the those in the heart and skeletal muscle and as well as the in the liver. And the parasympathetic nervous system does the dilatation on the blood vessel. So and in the sweat gland, so normally in the sweat gland, sympathetic nervous system has only one action on the sweat gland. It increases the sweating process. So it is about the autonomic nervous system. So autonomic nervous. Thank you.